Good evening and welcome to another edition of Conservative Corner. We are a monthly access cable TV program based here in Newton, Massachusetts, and we take pride in addressing issues and situations that maybe the mainstream media perhaps doesn't cover enough, especially in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which you may or may not have realized has a bit of a liberal bent, considering that we're almost completely dominated by Democrat politics, and particularly in West Suburban Boston, where we're based, and in Newton in particular, we certainly are. So, my name is Tom Mountain. I am your host for this evening, and I'm also the Republican State Committee woman for this State Committee man for this district. I have a State Committee woman with me, whom I'm very pleased to introduce to you, and this is my dear friend Maureen Maloney, who heralds from Milford. She is a Republican State Committee woman, and she is also, or was also, I should say, appointed Secretary of the Massachusetts Republican delegation to the Republican National Convention that didn't happen in 2020. That was canceled, as I believe the Democrat convention. Well, they were all canceled, but nevertheless, Maureen was appointed secretary of that, which is the number 2 position and a well-deserved position. And I was supposed to have been a part of that delegation. But, well, what are you going to do? Maybe next time around things will happen as they should have. But during COVID, not much happened, as you well know. We are here for a particular reason. And it's very fortuitous that Maureen was able to appear on this program tonight, because there's an issue that's coming up and that has been percolating in the state house and in state politics. And that, of course, is the issue of driver's licenses for illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, call them what you will. But the state legislature has pretty much enacted that and wants to give driver's licenses to people who are not citizens and who don't even have green cards, but who are here and entered the United States illegally. Now, I believe it was passed in the state legislature, and the governor, the Republican governor, vetoed it. But as happens too often in our state legislature, although our Republican governor vetoed that, it went right back to the state legislature, and they in turn overrode his veto. Now, why did they override the veto? Why were they able to? It's very simple, because the governor, in order to sustain a veto, requires 51 votes in the state legislature, and he does not have that because, unfortunately, we have less than 30 Republican state legislatures. And, folks, that has to change if we ever want to have a viable two-party system in this state with checks and balances. But in particular, Maureen is here because she has a story to tell. And you will notice on the caption below her name, she is an angel mom. And I'm going to let her explain to you exactly what that means at first and why she is here. Please, Maureen, if you would.
Well, thank you for having me here. So the term angel mom was first coined by Donald Trump, and it refers to mothers that have lost their children to an illegal alien. My son, Matthew Denise, was 23 years old when he was killed by an illegal alien. Matthew was driving home. It was October 20th, 2011, so we're coming up on the 11-year anniversary next month. He was riding home on his motorcycle in a residential area when a drunk illegal alien ran through a stop sign and collided with Matthew. It was a low-impact collision. So Matthew landed on the hood of the truck and rolled off, and would have survived with scrapes and bruises, but the illegal alien decided to flee, and when he did, he ran over Matthew and dragged him a quarter of a mile to his death. It was in a residential area, so people were banging on the truck, trying to get him to stop. Matthew was screaming and banging, obviously. At one point, the driver ran off the road and Matthew became dislodged. And at that point, he backed up over Matthew and continued to flee.
And the driver was from where?
From Ecuador.
And he had been here illegally. He entered here illegally.
He had been here illegally.
Undocumented.
Mm-hmm.
And presumably he was also working here or collecting?
He was working. He was on Mass Health. They found a Mass Health card in his wallet. He had a child that was born in the U.S., so the child was a U.S. citizen, so he was in subsidized housing. He was collecting welfare benefits for his child. He was working off the books, being paid cash, so not paying taxes.
So he was working here illegally. He was collecting benefits provided by the Commonwealth indirectly from the taxpayers, and he was disobeying flagrantly the laws of the Commonwealth in drunk driving and committing basically a felony, which is vehicular homicide, I assume.
Right.
And he was convicted.
He was convicted. He was sentenced to 12 to 14 years in jail. In fact, last Monday he had a parole hearing. He was denied parole, but he was up for parole. He will be getting out of jail next year.
And because his sentence is up?
Yes, because they've given him over 2 years off his sentence for good behavior.
Okay. That tends to happen in this Commonwealth. And after his sentence is up, then what happens?
He is an ICE detainer, and I will make sure he is deported.
And he will be deported out of this country.
Yes.
You and the term angel mom, that's a recent term, and that's a recent category. And I remember you were on stage with then candidate who became President Donald Trump, and I believe that was in Arizona. Could you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I had previously met Donald Trump here in Massachusetts while he was campaigning, and that night in Arizona, he was revealing his immigration plan, and he had invited a group of angel moms and dads to be on stage. Initially, we were supposed to be on stage as part of the warm-up, just telling our story. Nice. After he heard our stories on stage, he insisted that we be on stage with him and recant our story, retell our stories.
And so you retold your story to essentially a national audience.
Yes.
And I remember that well. And I had written about you and your son Matthew before, and in the Tab newspapers prior to that. And so your story was well known, as it should be, your tragedy, I should say. And then it took on a national topic, in that Donald Trump, who became president, of course, was really the first president to take this issue seriously about illegal immigrants to this country and the damage that those who in particular are unlawful, the damage that they do to our country, our people, our laws. And the bottom line is, this person who caused the death of your son should not have been in this country. Now, if the laws had been enforced at that time, what year was that again?
2011.
Okay, 2011, during the Obama administration, no surprise there. If the laws had been enforced, he would have been deported. He would have been caught. He would have been deported. He would have been caught somehow, some way, and the employer who employed him would have been fined and sanctioned, whatever. And none of this would have happened. But the fact that this individual was able to get away with this, was able to, or rather, stay in this country for the longest time. How long was he here for?
About 10 years.
About 10 years. So this really isn't or shouldn't be seen as a partisan issue, because if you go back 10 years from there, now who's the president in 2001? That's, of course, George W. Bush. So really the fault for the prevalence of illegal immigrants getting into this country was twofold, was really the fault and complacency of both political parties until President Trump came into office and tried to reverse the trend. And he was making very good progress, as you well know. Unfortunately, he lost the election, and elections have consequences. So now, as you well know, the borders are wide open on the southern border, and the borders are more than porous. They're just like a faucet has been opened, and they're coming in continuously. And I believe 2 million illegals have come in so far, and there's really no end in sight, to the point where Texas, the governor of Texas, has had to put up his own wall and to recruit, or rather make sure that the sheriffs and the Texas law enforcement enforce Border Patrol because the federal government is not. And by the way, now the federal government is trying to sue Texas to get them to stop doing this. It's really a very strange set of circumstances when a country does not enforce its borders. And this has to happen. This has not happened. And hopefully, if the elections, there is a different result in the next election in 2024, then we'll get back to some semblance of normalcy. But Massachusetts is very far from the border, the southern border. However far we are, just in terms of, you pretty much can't get any further from that border except for Maine. Nevertheless, you still have a lot of illegals that come here for whatever reason. The generous welfare benefits, I mean, let's face it, they're coming here. They don't tend to go to New Hampshire, I think, because New Hampshire doesn't have similar benefits. Maybe the low-skilled work that's here. For whatever reason, they're coming here, and they're here, and there's a lot of them. And by them coming here, they tax a lot of our institutions, whether it be the schools, whether it be the housing, whether it be the benefits that they're extracting from the taxpayers. But more importantly, when illegals come into this country and they settle into states like ours, you really don't know who they are, what type of background they come from. For example, if somebody's 25 years old and they come here illegally, you don't know anything about them. I mean, what were they in their previous country? Are they a felon on the run? Were they convicted of numerous petty crimes? Were they a bona fide alcoholic? Did they have drunk driving convictions? You don't know that. And now, if you could take us through this, the issue of the state legislature, which has tried, or I believe has enacted licenses tentatively for illegal aliens. If you could elaborate on that, please.
Yeah, so the state legislator overrode Governor Baker's veto of the bill and passed a law that illegal aliens will be entitled to get a driver's license starting next July. That law went into effect last month. There's a lot of negative consequences to giving a driver's license to illegal aliens. For one, back in January of 2020, the Democrats passed a law where when you when you fill out an application to get a driver's license or renew your driver's license, you're automatically enrolled to be a voter.
Yeah.
And you have to check a box to opt out, a box at the very end.
Instead of opting in.
Yes, so you have to opt out. So that puts us at risk for a lot of fraudulent voting.
I don't believe that anything is by accident or anything is by coincidence. This is really a deliberate ploy by these cynical politicians, Democrats, to get more voters who will vote for them. And they'll let it be known that the Democrat state legislature enacted this, and the Republican governor vetoed it, so therefore you have to come with us and vote for us. And that, of course, has long-term consequences. So it's one thing to have the illegals get a license, but that automatically goes into, they're automatically enrolled as voters, and they're not citizens. They're not even green card holders. As an example, I don't know if you know, but Mrs. Mountain, my wife, was living here for many, many years as a green card holder. She was a legal resident. And so just a few weeks ago, she legally became a citizen. Now, prior to that, she never voted in any election, and she wouldn't even think of it because she wasn't although she was a taxpayer, worked here for years and very active in the community, she didn't vote because she couldn't vote because she wasn't eligible to vote.
And if she voted illegally, there would have been consequences.
Probably,
and one of
most
those
likely.
would have been she may not have been able to get citizenship.
That's right. But the idea of her that she would vote is inconceivable. She wouldn't have done that. And of course, I wouldn't have let her, but that's beside the point. But she wouldn't have. But the point being is that now she is legal, so now she can vote legally in the next election primary, I think, and also for the election in November. And the problem is, When in this Commonwealth you have a state legislature that is dominated by the Democrats, and they come up with these newfangled ideas to grant to get more people on the voting rolls. And those people who don't think that this is deliberate, believe me, it's deliberate. And so tell me, so what are we going to do about this? You have a plan.
Yes, so I'm chairwoman of the Fair and Secure Massachusetts Committee, and we have a referendum initiative. We need to collect 60,000 signatures by August 24th to get this on the ballot. This question, should illegal aliens have a driver's license, to get that question on the ballot in November. So I would like all your viewers to sign the petition. If they see somebody out collecting signatures, they can go to the website. It's fairandsecurema.com to get a list of locations where we're collecting signatures.
Could you repeat that, please, and spell it out if you would?
It's so fair, F-A-I-R,
Yes.
and A-N-D,
Yeah.
secure, S-E-C-U-R-E, M-A.com.
That's easy enough. And so the website is up. And
The
it's
website
functioning?
is up. It'll show you locations where signatures are being collected. We have people collecting signatures during the week and on weekends now.
Okay, good.
You can actually print, if you want to collect signatures yourself, there's a link where you can print petitions right from the website, and there's instructions on how to print those petitions and how to collect signatures. But I encourage everybody to sign the petition so that we can get this on the ballot, so that the voters can make the decision,
Of course.
should illegal aliens have a driver's
Now,
license.
so in collecting signatures like this, would you normally find people at, say, supermarkets doing this? And
Supermarkets, sporting goods stores,
Okay.
other kinds of events
so
throughout the
people
community.
would come out and they would just sign it, and they would have to sign, of course, the right petition, because each petition is particular for the city and town. For
Yes.
example, if you live in Newton, you have to sign one that's from Newton. You live in Waltham, et cetera, et cetera. And you have to, it's very simple. You just have to be a registered voter in Massachusetts. And you can sign the petition. And then when you get the signatures certified, you bring them to the Secretary of State's office. They certify. Then, of course, you need more than you mentioned. It's 40,000. So you actually need about 60,000.
Need about
because you get a
60,000.
lot of, people that scribble, and they're not legible signatures, et cetera, et cetera. That's generally the trend. So, in other words, this is similar to say candidates who want to run for office in getting the signatures.
Correct.
That's the only similarity. And the important thing with something like this, Maureen, is that this should not be a liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat issue. This is an issue which is of interest to every person, every voter in the Commonwealth, because this is one of fairness, it's one of equity, it's one of common sense. That you do not give the privilege of, and it is a privilege, of driver's licenses to people who enter this country illegally. Now, when they become legal voters, then you can give them all the above, and that's
Right.
perfectly fine. And again, that coupled with the fact that they will also be given the right to vote, or not even the right to vote, but the practice of voting. That's something that's really absurd.
Another thing, there are economic consequences, because giving a driver's license to illegal aliens creates a magnet for more illegal aliens
Yes.
to come to our state. We are already spending $2 billion a year as a state on benefits for illegal aliens. That comes out to be about $850 a year for each tax-paying family. And with inflation, that's a number that's just going to go up. So we don't
Yes.
want to incentivize any more illegal aliens to come to Massachusetts.
No, certainly not. And when you think of, for example, all the homeless veterans who are in need of, and those who are in need of medical attention, and the federal government, the VA hospitals do what they can, of course, but we in the Commonwealth need to supplement them as best we can. And as a quick example, what we do in Newton is we try to help veterans in any way, shape, or form we can. On Christmas morning, we go to the New England Center for Homeless Veterans and we bring them gifts, and we do what we can. But the point is that we're volunteer groups that do that. And the money that you speak of, $2 billion, I mean, just for them alone, that could be dispersed to renovating those homeless centers, for counseling for veterans. And I'm just talking about veterans here. I'm not even referring to, you know, the cost, the money that isn't going to the cities and towns, the schools that need renovation, the streets that need to be renovated, et cetera, et cetera. That's at $2 billion in a state as small as Massachusetts geographically can go a long way. And here we are wasting it, just basically throwing it away on people who are not supposed to be in this country. I can't stress this enough. Now, the federal government may call them migrants. They're not migrants. You know, migrants are those in the people in the 30s who went from Oklahoma to California in the Dust Bowl. Those are migrants. Migrants is a term that you use for people who travel, who fluctuate at various ends of the country. These are illegal immigrants coming into our country. And you're right, despite the fact that Massachusetts is very far away from that border, nevertheless, once word gets out, they're going to come here for the generous benefits.
Well, actually, between 2007 and 2017, Massachusetts had the largest influx of illegal aliens out of any state in the country. More than California, more than Texas, more than Florida.
And you know, Maureen, also, I mean, let's face it, they're not going to come to affluent communities like Newton or Wellesley, or even moderate communities like Burlington or Norwood. They will come to places like Brockton, like Lawrence, like Lowell. Now, those communities are already overburdened and just in their schools alone, with huge numbers of students, many of whom they don't know, are they illegal? Are they illegal? We don't know. And the teachers, I would assume, and the staff are just so overtaxed, overburdened, overstressed with all of them, because that's where they're going to be going. In other words, they're going to be going to communities which are already stretched to the limit, and overburdening those communities to begin with. And from what I understand also, is that, as has happened in other states like New York and New Jersey, and that there have been clandestine flights into Hanscom. Have you heard about that?
I
of
have.
illegals?
Yes, and I don't know if you remember back under the Obama administration, flights were going into Hanscom. And I have heard recently that there are flights coming into Hanscom and TF Green, which is just over the border.
And let me guess, they're not coming in at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but probably 1 o'clock at night. And they come in and then they bust them, and who knows where they bust them to? We have no idea. You know, you and I have a very good friend who's I think one of the best sheriffs in the country, and that's Sheriff Tom Hodgson. And he, of course, is in Bristol County running for re-election again. And Sheriff Hodgson was in the forefront of combating the illegal immigration problem in this state. And he was really the only sheriff who was, to the best of my knowledge, or at least he was in the forefront. And he kept talking about it and articulating it and really trying to tell the residents of the Commonwealth that, look, this isn't just a problem in Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. This is a problem here in Massachusetts. And the reason why it's a problem here in Massachusetts is because, as you alluded to, the incentive to come here, even though it's very far from the border, is such that they will come here. In other words, they won't come to, the illegals, my guess, won't end up in places like South Dakota or Wyoming. They will come here. And also, I think that they will come here because we have much more of an urban population where they can blend into. Like, you know, we have a lot of medium cities like Springfield, Worcester, and New Bedford, whereas you can't just blend in, or in places like North or South Dakota, so they'll come here.
And it's a well-oiled underground machine that transports them here, finds them a place to live, finds them a job. And so they tend to go to places where they either have family or they have people that are from their local communities in the country they're coming from. And you know, we have plenty of illegal immigrants here in Massachusetts, so that in itself is a magnet for more people to come here.
And you know, I can't stress enough the necessity, and we really have time constraints in getting these signatures done. And now it's the middle of the summer. But again, I will say, where there's a will, there's a way. We can and should get these signatures, as many as possible. And I would stress, if you could, those of you who are watching, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, and when you go online, just press a few buttons. You can print out the sheets, and just get the signatures yourself. You would be pleasantly surprised how many people will sign them. And you know, we need so many of them. And again, time is of the essence. It's now July 18th. And what is the date again?
August 24th is the last
August
day.
24th. And again, now we're talking about 5 weeks. But again, folks, you know, for a state of 7 million people, it doesn't sound like a lot of signatures, but it is in a very small time frame. And you know, this is so important. If we give licenses to illegal immigrants, I mean, among other things, it's all the reasons that Maureen stated, but it makes our state look very bad to do that. Frankly, it's an embarrassment that we would do that. I mean, why would we do that? Seriously, why in the world would we do that? And we're just giving a welcome back to every illegal immigrant from any place in the world to come here, and they will come here, and you will see the population be raised dramatically with people who, quite frankly, shouldn't be here. So the importance of this is critical. And again, although you know, obviously I'm coming from a Republican perspective, this should not be a Republican-Democrat perspective issue. This is one of common sense. It really is. I mean, you don't give driver's licenses to illegals. I mean, why not just go over to France and tell people to come over and get licenses here from there? It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. And so, you know, Maureen has come here, and she suffered personally from this. Her family has, with the fact that her tragedy is one that needed to be told, and I'm glad she told it, because what you see here, folks, is somebody who experienced the worst of dealing with the issue of illegal immigration. Again, those people who are not supposed to be here. Had our immigration laws been fully enforced, her situation would be very different today. So I want you to realize this as you've listened to her talk and as you've listened to us really plead this case. And we're really pleading with you. So please, do what you can pertaining to this petition. Let's get it on the ballot. If we get it on the ballot, all polls indicate that it will pass in our favor, in that it will override, importantly, the draconian edict of the state legislature, and consequently, our goal is to prevent illegals from getting driver's licenses here. And this is important. This is really a task that we all have to work together at. And you know, quite frankly, I'm convinced that there are enough decent people in this state who will sign the petition, who will work towards the petition, and who will get it done. So, that being said, I'm so glad you came here. I really am.
Well, thank you for having me.
And you came here on such short notice. Your story is important, and with our audience, and we have a very good network, we will work diligently to get it done. And when it is done, and we're going to have you back to talk about it as the months progress.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, by all means.